So, if you would like to build a Forbidden Planet blaster gun, as seen in the movie Forbidden Planet and a whole bunch of other sci-fi films after Forbidden Planet, there are going to be some 3D printed files up on Thingiverse, which are very close to being like the original screen-used prop. And the reason I know they're very close is because back in the 1990s, I had, let's start here. I had a screen-used prop for about a 2-week period. It was given to me to make silicon rubber molds of it so that duplicates could be cast. Here's an interesting shot you might like, showing the back cap off the gun. The back cap is actually was cast in aluminum, and this metal ring is glued into a styrene body. The whole body of the blaster is styrene, 2-part seamed. The front part is clear acrylic, which is lathe turned, and the brass bobbin, of course, is lathe turned. But I had the silicon rubber molds, and from that I made resin copies of the gun, like this. And the body's hollow cast resin. Didn't use the same type of trigger, put in a switch that you could buy. I did have the tips turned by a lathe guy in clear acrylic, and then flame polished them clear again, and the bobbin is brass. But using this, knowing that this is screen accurate in size and detail, the only thing that's not screen accurate about it is when I painted the silver details. I was using brush and masking off lines. The lines aren't supposed to be masked off and dead straight. The original movie props were all airbrushed, so everything kind of just fades in and fades out, all kind of fades together. But back in the 1990s I wasn't airbrushing. So anyway, I found these files on Thingiverse by, what did I say the guy's name was? The Other 10. So I decided a couple of days ago I would just print them and see how close he was, because the pictures actually look pretty close. And they're real close. The only thing you really could have done to make it better was rounded these corners on the handle more of a round, not so flat. I made changes to the file and put it back up as a remix. A lot of the changes, he had his trigger set up for a specific flashlight that we're not going to find here in the States, and I modified this to use a miniature snap action switch, and that way you can stick any sort of flashlight inside this hollow body, which weighs basically nothing, that you want. And in my case, I put in a dollar store flashlight, which worked quite well. And as you can tell, unfortunately, when you 3D print on an FDM printer, even solid so that there isn't infill patterns, you're not going to get clear. But that's okay, it makes it light up better. And the bobbin, of course, was just painted. It's a separate piece, and the tip's a separate piece. But you could take, if you wanted a proper clear one made, you could take this and use it to make a silicon rubber mold, and then clear cast, you know, your barrels in clear resin. Or take them to somebody with a lathe, or if you have a lathe turn your own out of clear acrylic and then flame polish it clear again. But let's see if there's any more pictures here of the original that might interest anybody. Anyway, I thought most of you would find it interesting how they got inside. There's actually a set screw in the bottom that releases the aluminum cast cap. You can actually see the hole up here in that one a little bit. Sorry about the reflections. There was just more different angles of the blaster. Nothing spectacular there. But what else? Let's review the pictures on my computer to make sure I'm not forgetting something that you may want to know. Let me move you over here. And here we are, sort of, kind of. When I printed the parts, I only had some clear filament for my print at the time, so unfortunately the parts will be hard to see because they're in clear. But there is an opening here. There is a groove where the switch drops down in there. There's the type of little micro switch that I use. Any switch, even if it has a long lever or it has a roller in the lever, doesn't matter, you can just cut that stuff off. Mine, I brought it up and bent it because I wasn't sure what length I was going to need. But it will drop down inside there, like this. The trigger piece sits in some grooves from the inside facing out. The switch just pushes down. The leads go up the back side. Then you glue that onto the main housing. The main housing prints is one piece with the back side down, so you don't have to do supports. Here's the cap. The cap will fit tight enough that you actually don't need to glue it if you want to get in. I glued my cap on because I always got into my blasters from the barrel end. But again, it's hard to see things because it's the clear milky plastic till I get some paint on there. Then this front part here, where the fins meet another ridged fin, it's separated as a separate part so that it can print flat on the printer. That way, again, you don't have to do supports. I mean, there's an inset part where a little bit of support material goes, but nothing visual on the outside. So the outside of the part stays super clean. And that's how it's going to look when you've got everything glued together. And I then took it out to the shop, and first I hit it with some red primer you see down here. And then once the red dried, I hit it, actually I didn't have any gunmetal, so I hit it with some cast iron paint. It's supposed to look like cast iron. They find it at the automotive stores. It's not bad. It's not quite as dark as gunmetal, but it's pretty dark and it's real close to what was used. But you can see there's none of the silver highlights yet, so I ended up just taking the airbrush and just hitting these areas in the back. And so here we have the barrel. The barrel is done in several parts. This is the back part. I modified the part screw-on, so I can screw the barrel on or unscrew it. Again, this prints as one part. This actually is down on the build plate, printed upside down. That way you don't need any supports. And it's hollow. The bobbin, which is going to fit on here, is actually two parts. There's a flat piece and then another piece that tapers up. And again, it's separated into two parts so that no supports are required. You just glue those parts together, and then they push onto the end here. And then the tip will glue basically in the hole that's closer to the wood in this picture, like so. It's nice having that as a separate piece because it makes it a lot easier to paint it, to give it the brass look. So you can glue all that together. So you can use absolutely any flashlight you want, or LEDs that you want, or whatever you want. But I just went to the dollar store because I like these little flashlights. They're very strange. I can use these cob lights for other projects. But in the end, there's a very large jumbo LED that gets super bright. And another interesting thing just about this particular flashlight, which I had never seen before, is it actually operates on a single AA battery, which is sitting over here, because it's got a little circuit which boosts the voltage and current up to light the LED. So anyway, I had it was $1, and I figured if I ruined it, so I lost $1, you know. And here's just showing the gun. The highlights they're on there, getting ready to shove it all together. Another close-up of how the barrel looked. This is an insert piece, and I'll provide the file in case it's of any value to anyone. But basically, this round part will fit inside the screw part, and then it gives a flat place where you could, in my case, I put the little circuit board and the battery box right on there. So it's all one piece, and it's pushed right in the end. Then I just screw the whole thing onto the gun. See, just nests right in there. But again, you can do anything you want. You could just shove the flashlight up in here and hold it in place with some foam rubber. It's going to shine forwards. All you have to be able to do is interrupt the switch to that flashlight somehow so that your little trigger can control it. And there she is done. And of course you've already seen it on, so it's kind of redundant at this point. Anyway, files will be up on Thingiverse. There's also more build information on the Alphadrome website. And please subscribe and hit like if you like this kind of content so I know I'm not wasting my time. And have fun with it. It doesn't cost much to do it.